13th, 2023 monthly Logansport Parks and Recreation Board in order. Would they please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Eamon.
I'll read the mission statement.
Yes, sir, please.
Logansport Parks and Recreation is committed to improving the quality of life for Loganland residents by preserving land, facilities, the environment, and our natural heritage, and by creating significant opportunities for recreation, conservation, relaxation, and education for now and future generations.
Thank you. Okay, you all received your copy of the minutes from last month's meeting. Is there any additions or subtractions that need to be made?
No.
All good? Okay, all right. Then we will move right along. Next up, presentation by the Logansport Historic Preservation Commission. Good evening, how are you today?
Fit here, is that what you'd like?
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep.
Right in front of the microphone.
And please give us your names.
My name is Barbara Stein, 1311 East Market Street, here in Logansport, but also the president of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay.
Okay?
My name is
And-
Mike Stidehar, 2606 High Street, and I'm the vice president of the.
Okay.
And I'm Deb Parcell, Indiana Landmarks. We have a contract with the city to work with the Historic Preservation Commission, and our office is at 801 West Washington Street in South Bend.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Hi, thank you very much. So, our job is always to try to catch up with things before they are completely gone. And we'd sure like to find a way to do it ahead of time. We like to preserve, or try to preserve what we can in the buildings and the memories and the history of our community. So, but we understand the realities of what happens in this world. But we just want you to know the Historic Preservation Commission here in Logansport, Cass County, wants to support you in anything we are able to do if you work on, if you work on restoration and/or saving the pavilion. Mike will.
Let me mention that as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, I don't normally get a lot of public input on these issues, but I have received a number of comments from our citizens who have a lot of fond memories, people of my general age group who had a lot of family, social activities utilizing that pavilion, feel strongly about its preservation, and I think it's part of our social heritage here in Logansport. And so I would like, if at all possible, that this structure be preserved in whatever format it can be preserved, because I think it's important to those of us who might have had some experiences. So it is a matter of public concern.
Sure.
Okay, finally, I guess I would like to address what we're proposing is we are in the process of writing up a designation application for the Spencer Park Pavilion. So that's something that the Historic Preservation Commission does. That's part of their ordinance, that they're supposed to create what they call local historic districts. So sometimes that's just one building, and sometimes that's a several block area. You have numerous ones of those already in town. There's a state ordinance that allows the city to do that, and then the city ordinance allows this. So that can be proposed by the commission or by the building owner, either one. And the process of that then is they have this application. It talks about the history and why it's important to the community. Sometimes we're looking at buildings, a lot of the homes that are already designated are large structures. So you might be looking at something like on Bankers Row, that type of thing. But, it's really our goal to be more inclusive and telling a better story of Logansport, that it was not just all those big buildings. There's other important features in the town. So we want to be sure and try and hit all those different things that are important in telling your story. And I see in your mission statement, which I was glad that you read, that you want to preserve land and facilities. So I think this ties right in with that. So we're writing up this application at the present time. There'll be a public hearing, at which time anyone can come and talk in favor or against. And the commission at the end of that meeting, which should be in October, hopefully, if everything goes well, at the end of that meeting, the commission will take a vote and decide whether they want to make this recommendation, local designation, to the council. Then it will go to them. They'll have 2 more hearings. One of those will be a public hearing as well. And at that point, they will vote and decide whether or not it becomes locally designated. If it does, there'll be an ordinance to create that. And then from that point forward, any changes that would be made to that structure would have to be approved by the commission and follow the guidelines, which are on their website right now. So that's kind of the process.
Okay, so let me you guys have said that you haven't heard a lot other than people who have, and I've seen it too. This board has been more or less put on the cross and been crucified by people in this community.
Already.
Very wrongfully, I will say.
Yeah.
You made the comment, and there isn't anybody on this board. Mr. McCord went to Boy Scouts down at that pavilion. My middle daughter was married and had a reception down in that pavilion. And there isn't any of us here on this board, even though a lot of people in this community seem to think differently. There isn't any of us on this board that want to see that go away. We had an assessment done on it last year. It was deemed to be, at that time, still stable. Since that point in time, that has changed. And a lot has been said in social media that this board has set on the money to stabilize this pavilion for well over a year, which is not true. The money was not given to the Parks Department for this project until this year's budget. We are in the process of getting it stabilized, and our plan is that once it's stabilized, to sit down, get people together in the community who this interests, and let's try to raise the money to fix it the way you guys want it fixed. Okay? That's our whole goal here. We don't, I've even had people who have come up to me and said, so, what night at midnight are you bringing the crane down to knock it down? That's never been said on this board. None of us want that to happen. Jan doesn't want it to happen. None of us want it to happen. But we have spent way too much time trying this in the public media, and bashing parks members has not gotten us anywhere. We are working hard to get it stabilized before winter, and then go from there on being able to preserve it the way you guys would like to have it preserved. Anybody else want to add anything?
I might just ask, I've talked some with the engineering company and the contracting people. Are you against, like, say, putting in engineered lumber, like trusses and things like, the roof structure's not, is your goal to keep it as much as we can and people can still use it, or do we need to keep it historically accurate?
We would.
This is a Deb
Yeah.
question.
We would want it to stay as much as it can historically accurate, and yet we welcome the use of modern materials that are maybe more durable than original
Right.
ones, so we're not opposed.
The support structure is the thing that It's just none of this stuff, it was done with 2x4s, which, like, long spans and stuff like that, but so it's, I think that what could possibly happen here is when they stabilize it, if they can use some more modern materials,
Yeah.
then the thing could go a long time. So if you decide you want to do a fundraiser at some point in time to do something, whatever, I think you can keep the exterior looking very much the same, but then the support structure inside is where we need to look at something and say, you know, I just didn't know whether you come down on, no, you can't use a truss, you can't use engineered lumber, you can't use
No.
beams and stuff like that. Okay,
We're
Okay.
open to that kind
Okay.
of thing. We're looking for things that are durable and just
right.
add to the longevity
Right.
of the structure.
And I say, from the people who talk to me, I think they just want to have it as much as possible like that, but they understand that there may need to be some modern materials used that, you know, they say these engineers, you can't, some of the ways they did it things years ago just aren't today's
They didn't
systems.
have the options.
Right. Yeah.
Just as all of you are, I think, very reasonable people are trying to come up with a solution, I think the Preservation Commission feels the same way. I think we're reasonable people. We understand the trade-offs involved, and I think what you outlined is very
Well,
appropriate.
And again, the first step is to get it stabilized. And then, like we have done with other projects, you know, our clubhouse at our golf course, which has a completely separate committee to raise money. We just did it with the dog park that we will have next year, a separate committee. And we're willing to do the same thing. We are willing to sit down with anybody in the community who's interested in being involved and trying to solve this problem the way the community wants it solved. And that's our goal. You know, whether or not we can reach that goal is yet to be seen. But we're not, I mean, you know, we don't leave here at night and call each other and say, okay, what can we do to tear apart the pavilion tonight so we can be all over Facebook again? You know, so, I mean, we want that too. And it gets frustrating for us when we get persecuted on social media. I mean,
I can tell you've been seriously abused.
huh?
I can tell you have been seriously abused. No, you can tell, and it does happen. It happens to us sometimes, but when people do that, I always want to say, here's a sheet, sign up to volunteer to help us.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're going to complain, come on, I even heard the thing about taking it down at night. I'm thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense at all, but, you know, you can't talk to those people sometimes.
Well, you know,
Why ask them to volunteer?
you know, you,
And also-
Run and check.
you know.
Oh, yeah, that's even better.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and a lot of that I can take because I knew that there would be points in time being on this board that you would have that. But for people on social media to challenge everybody on this board's integrity, no. That's not what this group's about. I've lived here all my life. I used to ride my bicycle to Spencer Park and sit in the pavilion while my brother fished. It's part of Logansport, and we understand that. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to balance what's going to work in the long run. But we're here to stabilize it, and we're here then to meet with you people and anybody else in the community that wants to and see what we can do to get it taken care of.
We were advised, and what we fenced it off for was safety purposes. We were advised that we could rent it out, but I wouldn't do it on a windy day. So, you know, that kind of puts a halt to it, and that's why we fenced it off until we could get something lined up to where we can get it stabilized, and that was our whole purpose of that. We had to turn down some rentals on that. We hated doing it because they'd already had it planned. But we weren't going to take any chances of a roof coming down on top of people. We just can't take that chance.
Jason, you got anything to add?
I mean, not much more than what's been said. It's
it's sad that more people pay attention to social media than actually will come to a meeting or read minutes or something like that from what actually happened. And it's frustrating when I have friends in this town that come and they've read on social media and they come at me almost attacking. Why are you guys doing that? Why are you guys taking that down? Why are you, what, I heard it's going to get, no, and you have to
they believed
fix
it?
all that because they believe what they read on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So that's the disheartening part. There are large groups on Facebook run by a few people and telling people things and everyone's just believing it at face value. And that's disappointing, And I would agree. Nobody, we have $100,000. This is going to be $1 million project in my opinion, when it's all said and done, but when you're talking about the concrete and all that. So there's the stabilizing thing, I think, was the only solution, short of the city council stepping up and saying, okay, here's an emergency $1 million. Let's gut the whole thing and put it up, And that's just not realistic financially to do that. So, but I agree with everything Dave said. I think that, when you read something that says the Parks Board doesn't care, the Parks Board doesn't understand, the Parks Board is out of touch, that's just garbage. That it really is. And it's sad that that kind of stuff gets traction. So that it is frustrating.
Eamon?
And we just want to fix it. And we believe stabilizing it will be the quickest way, because I think everybody wants results quickly. But I don't necessarily want to say that doesn't mean in the future it can't be a historic landmark or this and that. Well, I do see that as it'll take more time added on, at least from what I'm hearing. So let's go ahead and fix it first, and we can talk about that later on. But I think everybody in the city and just everybody would be happy if we came with a plan. This we're gonna do, stabilize it, fix it, and then let's go forward. I think that would appease a lot of people. It would make us happy too, because then we know we did our job, what we can to fix it. So that's all I feel.
I want to add one more thing to things you guys have been saying. That this shelter has been on the capital improvement plan project list since I've been back in 2018. And this year is the first year any funding was given to us for it. So it isn't for lack of trying to get it, and it's been the next year, and then it keeps being pushed off to the next year and being pushed off to the next year. So we want to get this taken care of for sure. It was always in our plans, but it's just not been feasible to do it in comparison to the other priorities of the parks. So, and when we don't have the money, we try to get out and find it from other sources, and that's what we did with the dog park, and that's what we're doing with the clubhouse, and so it'll be, I guess, if it's going to take more money than what it's going to do for the stabilization, we're going to need your help. We're not going to, and honestly, I'm not really sure that that's going to be our priority to raise the money for that. So I think we're going to need that help from you guys in the community and everywhere, everybody else. Again, we're always begging for money from one source or another. So,
Well, like a former mayor, Mike Fincher made comment when he made the budget up for the city, the money went to the police department, fire department, the street department, and then whatever's left over, if there is anything left over, it went to the parks department. So our budget is very, very slim the majority of the time, and we got to work from that.
I guess I would just note that we probably would not ask for anything at this point that you guys aren't already planning. I can't imagine, it's a pretty simple structure. So I can't see that being locally designated would add more cost to the project. If it had a slate roof on it or, something unusual, that might be a situation.
The bad thing of it is that it's the concrete and
that's what's really failing.
That's the thing that's going to drive the cost.
Okay.
Because, and if you go down there, and I don't know if you've been down and looked at, okay.
Yeah.
And if you notice, the pillars that, I mean, that concrete around the pillars were just put there to try to shore it up, however many years ago that was. So, I mean, that's not what was originally there. And so they put concrete around it to try to shore it up. So, you know, we know that the roof part is not the big thing. The thing is the concrete work underneath, because as it's starting to sag in and some of the pillars are about to come off the concrete, that's where the money's gonna come into the whole project. And so, I mean, you know, a lot of people say, well, just write a check and fix it. Well, okay, but that's a pretty big check. And that's what we want to do. And so we'll see when we start the process of having the community help us, how many of our social media friends that have been so against this want to step up and help us out, because that's what we're going to be looking for. And we don't want to remove it, but at the end of the day, we have to be realistic as well. So.
One thing, I'm very interested in your report, whatever your report's going to be, because, you know, I get that it's historic in our memories, but what makes it actually historic structure? And I guess that's what I'm interested in having your report on. I think that's what you're talking about,
Right.
because we all have emotions and memories about that structure, which makes it historic to us, but it has not been treated historic
No.
all these years. And so the roof isn't really historic, the pillars really aren't historic, the concrete surface, it was with a wood floor apparently, and that concrete surface is not historic. So there's so many things that's been done to it over the years that there isn't very much left of it that's historic. It's just old, in my opinion. But so I'm really anxious to see you find something that says how it is historic, and because I personally don't feel that way, but that's just me. And these guys are my bosses, so so I'm gonna do what they tell me to do. So, but I'm just, don't I?
That's part of the deal.
I wasn't going to say it again, absolutely.
So anyway,
That was an indicator, Jan, I just want you to know that.
what?
From a working point of view, that was an indicator that they're just messing with you.
No,
And they did it really well.
we have a good working relationship, that's for sure. So, but that's where I'm at right now. So I'm anxious to see your report. So, and when do you think that's going to be? I think I'm going to be on vacation.
October the second Thursday.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
Off my head what day
you're
that
not-
is.
Is that bad?
I'm in Florida.
She's in Florida.
I'm in Florida.
But at that point, it's
Give her time off.
12th, October 12th.
October 12th.
Columbus Day.
So, yeah, October
October
12th in this room
Okay, yeah.
at 4 o'clock.
Well, we
There'll
can
be a
send it
meeting.
to you right away, when it's done.
And what they'll do here is just make a recommendation. So
Okay.
nothing's official, so even if you aren't here to speak for or against, the commission will listen to everybody's discussion, and then they will make their decision to make a recommendation or not. And then city or common council, whichever it goes to in your town.
City council,
City
yep.
council, thank you. It varies from town to town. I work in
We're
5
not the
different
boss
towns,
either.
so
We
I'm
have-
like, oh, can't
Yeah.
remember. But they're the ones then, they'll have a reading, and then they'll have a public hearing and a reading, and then they'll actually vote. So that's the meeting you want to go to, is that one, because
So you're
that's-
safe in October.
But that'll be November or so.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
For your time, we
Would-
appreciate
Would
it.
anybody else in the audience like to discuss on this before we move forward? Okay. Thank you. We
Thank
look
you.
forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Sir?
Moving right along, old business, Spencer Lower Pavilion stabilization contract. Jan?
So this is the contract that we were expecting. This is the draft. I didn't know if there was anything that you wanted changed. I was, you were talking about having it shored up by the winter. this does not indicate that it'll be done by winter. It's March or May is what they're expecting. But, you know, they'll try to work in the winter time if they can. You know, sometimes our winters are pretty mild and, you know, maybe they can do stuff to get stuff done in the winter time, but,
And they're gonna try to keep the roof, the shingles, which again was our concern a while back, and the fact is a fiberglass shingle, when it gets cold, they get brittle. So if they're gonna have to start to, you know, jack up the roof structure, I think that they
I
may,
think so.
it could have an effect on the cold could have an effect on how well those shingles deal with being jacked up. But they also act like they think they can do everything in the winter period, so, you know.
Honest Abe Roofing, they do roofing in the wintertime, so.
I don't even like the sound of the name of that.
I know, they're funny. Anyway. Well, yeah, he said they should have the design ready to go. That means whatever, list out the work that has to be done by December 15th. And then, once approved, they should be completed by May of '24. So we won't open it up to rentals, though, until it's actually done. I don't believe so, because you never know what it's gonna do. So,
And I think that, talking to Matt Llewellyn from Steinbergers, I think the stabilization could put this thing where it could be used for a number of years. So, I mean, I think it's, you know, potentially with the money we've got allowed to use, it could be, you know, not a dangerous thing and could be, you know, I said, I think they're now going to get down to the meat and potatoes of the engineering rather than just taking a look around and, you know, giving their opinion. That'll be helpful.
right. And so this will have to go to the Board of Works. So we'll go ahead and get this, if you guys approve it, they'll take the word draft off and put in the right, get the signatures done, and we'll get it to the Board of Works next week.
Do we have a motion to accept this contract from KJ&G Architects so we can get this to the Board of Works?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Okay, on to new business, and the first topic on new business, the Parks Board Resolution 2023-06 established the Bark Park rules and construction budget. I have asked Jan that we table that because I want the Dog Park Committee to get together again and go over our rules again before we present this to the Parks Board and vote on it. So we'll get that done and have that ready to go next meeting, okay? So moving right along. Parks Board Resolution 2023-07. A resolution of Logansport Parks and Recreation Board regarding Spencer Park Lower Pavilion Historic Designation. Whereas the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board governs the facilities within the Logansport Parks Department as provided by the Logansport City Council in Ordinance 97-42, and whereas the Spencer Park Lower Pavilion on the south side of the Eel River is managed by the Logansport Parks and Recreation Department and overseen by the Parks Board. And whereas the Spencer Park Lower Pavilion has been determined through a report that the structure needs stabilization for continued public use, and whereas the 2023 budget has provided $100,000 to address this issue. Whereas an application for historic designation of the Spencer Park Lower Pavilion to the Logansport Historic Preservation Commission was made without Parks Board knowledge or support. Whereas a local historic designation would introduce third-party control over decision-making abilities of the park board, possibly preventing the Parks Board from taking action it deems necessary. Now therefore, be it resolved, the Logansport Parks Board of the Logansport Parks and Recreation Department of the City of Logansport that Section 1 requests for the Logansport Historical Designation of Spencer Park Lore Pavilion will be rejected by the Parks Board, as it would limit the actions that may need to be taken in the future with regards to maintenance and repair. Section 2, the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board recommends that the Logansport Common Council reject the local historic designation, as it would limit the action that may be taken in future with regards to maintenance and repair. Section 3, this resolution shall be in full force and effect after its passage by the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board and passage by Logansport Common Council. Questions? Comments? Any comments from the visitors? Comments from the board? With no comments from anybody, then do I have a motion to pass Parks Board Resolution 2023-07?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of passing Parks Board Resolution 2023-07, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Parks Board Resolution 2023-07, a resolution of the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board regarding Spencer Park Lore Pavilion Historic Designation has passed. All right, Jim.
This is Resolution 23-08 regarding fees for 2024. You'll see the first set of fees is for the Muehlhausen Aquatic Park, Aquatic Center. The only fee that daily fee that we've asked to change is the child ages 5 to 16 would change from $2 to $3. That has not changed for years. I mean, really a long time. The adults we left alone. We did raise the 20 visit pass $5. The 50 visit pass, we've raised it $10. Swim lessons, we raised $5 to $40. Same thing for the Minnie and Me swim lessons. Doggy days, we raised $1 in each either pre-registration or day of the event. The rental for the pool, we've raised it from $70 per hour to $75 per hour with a 2-hour minimum. We did not change the additional one for each additional 15 people over 30. We did not change that, so that's still 25 and 30. And then the nonprofit rate is $60 now, and we're asking to raise that $65 per hour for next year. So basically, those are $10 per hour or $10 raises for each rental that takes place. Section 3 is also, these things are also at under our merchandise sales at the pool. There was no changes in any of those things. And then our programs, we listed each of the programs we've done currently this year, and we're asking for basically $2 more for each one of those events. Junior golf, we were asked to raise that to $50 because they just, anyway, that's where that was going to go. Tennis lessons was $5. Art classes, we raised that to $2 more. Yoga in the park, we raised that to $50. And mobile vendor single use, we left that at $40. And I guess that we should have identified nonprofit is $25. And so if it's a nonprofit group, it's only $25. So just the one-time use, we didn't change that. But the 6-month use, we did add $50 to that, from $150 to $200. Those people that are buying those are using the heck out of them. So $50 more for that is not out of line for that. So, and then if you will go to Exhibit A at the end, you'll see one of the things most of our shelters have electricity, and people are using that electricity, and so we did raise that $5 for each of those shelters that have electricity. If they didn't have electricity, it was only $3, right? Yeah, okay. There's the pool rental fees again. Did we actually lower that's right, no. We didn't do anything with the Penman Service Center, did we? Or is that up $10?
It's up $10.
Okay, that's up $10, okay. And that's an hourly fee. We haven't done you can just rent it for 2 hours if that's what you want, so you can keep it fairly low with a $100 damage deposit. McHale Complex, we've raised that $20 an hour, or $20 for a 4-hour period, from 190 to 210. Right? Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. And then same thing on all the others is that we've raised this 20. Part of that has to do with the fact that we've had to hire a contractual service to bring people or to open and close it. So it is costing us more to operate those facilities. So we did not change prices on any of the full-day basketball court. We did raise that the hourly to $20 and $18. Same thing for pickleball, $20 and $18. And then Little Turtle Waterway is up to $210, which is a $20 increase, and $175.
I have a question.
Yes.
At the top, it says 2022 fee. Is that a typo?
Oh, no, it should say 2024.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed that one. I will make that correction.
Good catch.
Well, I kept looking like,
Where's the increases?
You're right.
What does that mean? We just keep updating the same form
can't read
year
that
after year, so.
I should have seen that myself. I look at this thing every day. Kelly, did I get everything right there?
You did, you
Okay.
did, yes.
Okay. Any more discussions or questions on Park Board Resolution 2023-08, the resolution of the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board amending program activity fees and facility rental fees?
Just one question. We talked once about how the drinks were more expensive than what we are charging for, but here it says there's no change. So did
Because we approved those changes. Those changes were
Earlier
approved.
this year.
Okay.
They're the $2.
So, okay, so this is what we talked about.
Yeah, that's
before.
what we did.
All right, thanks.
On the junior golf camp,
Yeah.
why did it increase 15 when everything was going up 5?
Because of the instructors. The
Okay,
instructors required more.
okay.
That what we did this year was we gave them the entire amount of, that they requested, but, so that took some funds out of the regular budget to do it, so.
Okay.
So we need to cover them for next year.
Yeah,
so.
sure.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to accept Parks Board Resolution 2023-08, resolution of the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board amending program activity fees and facility rental fees?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Parks Board Resolution 2023-08, resolution of the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board amending program activity fees and facility rental fees has passed. Staff reports, Jan?
Well, I'm your only staff besides Kelly. Well, Kyle's back. You know, Kyle is now a staff member at the golf course.
Hi, Kyle.
So, were you supposed to give Dean's report?
No.
Okay. All right. He didn't say that.
It's your big chance.
He didn't say that he was, or did you were, so that's okay. I just asked him. Okay, well, anyway, so we had, I'm just going to combine it all, everybody's reports here, so you can see what's going on. We'll start at the projects that we've had this last month. We met with the county council, and then last week we met with the commissioners at their formal biweekly meeting. They approved the first approval for the Cart Path funding of $100,000 for 3 years. We still have the county council to approve that, but the commissioners approved that last week. We also submitted a grant request to the Visitors Bureau for the T-Box signage. I think it got turned down. But anyway, I think overall we're at like 2.4 million, including the city council's commitment. So we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. Not totally good, but pretty good. So I just this afternoon received a bunch of documents from Context Design on the master plan. I'm going to have to send those to you via email. I have no idea even what they say at this point, so I'm going to review them a little bit so I can give you a little bit of information on that. So, but that's coming, okay? We did receive our funding from the Patronicity Grant for a total of $37,170. $37,634.35. So we have on hand to work on that account $79,561.34. So we're in pretty good shape. I haven't spent any money yet. I will whenever you say I can. So the Mulehouse Aquatic Center splash pad was closed the day after Labor Day. Fortunately, the weather turned cooler, which was in our favor for sure. So at this time, so Christmas in the Park is coming. We sent out the first sponsorship request to our past donors. So far, we've received $3,780.56. Oh, that's just the total fund. That's where we're at. Okay, that's where we're at right now. So we're getting started and moving forward. I submitted a grant to the Cass County Visitors Bureau for promotion costs, and they did approve that grant. Kevin was able to get going on the Dykeman West restroom. This is the one back there by the shelter. BNS Excavation completed their construction of the septic system, and now we're finalizing options for the building itself. We did get we had a meeting with Steinberger about the public access at Spencer Park, and that work will be $14,000. We do have some funds from the Logansport Reimagined campaign, and we think Steinberger is going to help in terms of labor costs. So we'll see how that goes. Also, I submitted a grant also to the Visitors Bureau for interpretive sign replacements, and that grant was okayed, and so we're getting ready to get working on that. Hopefully that'll be done before the end of the year. So those are projects. Then we did, Kara and I toured the Kokomo Urban Outreach Program. It was called UP, and it was really a phenomenal program. I would love to see if we could figure out a way to do it for ourselves, but I guess we have a few steps to go before we get to that point. So it was an interesting program that had kids from preschool all the way through 17 had a chance to be in a setting where they are learning to be respectful, responsible, reliable. That's their 4 R's. And I can never remember what that last R is, but that's part of their plan. And when kids participate, they earn a point for every thing that they do, and they can earn points to actually earn dollars for the work, for being a part of the program. And so these kids were getting gift cards and to take care of things. They can buy things in their store, and it was certainly kids that were at risk, and that's where we got a lot of those kind of kids, especially around Riverside Park. And it was really a neat program, and maybe someday we can take some other folks down to see it, because it was very impressive. So we did participate in Healthy Kids Day, and we also were in part with the hospital's resource fair this last Saturday. I also helped at the pancake breakfast on Saturday as well. Kara attended the Northern District meeting at Promenade Park, when we went to, Mike, there in Fort Wayne, and I think she was super impressed with all that there was there, so it was a pretty cool park. And then today, she and I participated in the QPR training, which is question, persuade, and refer is what it means, but it's for suicide prevention, the process for helping people prevent suicides. During the month of August, we used the stage twice, one for Security Federal, Block Party, and the Farmers Market. And we moved bleachers and aluminum picnic tables for both of those events. And I think both of our events were really successful. We did have a volunteer effort to do general maintenance at Full Park on the 27th. It was Kevin and me and Kaylin, and we were done in a couple hours, and it looks great even today. So we did get the Security Federal rock installed at the pavilion there at Fairview Park, and it looks really good. We've got to get that on the Facebook page. And then if you haven't driven around Riverside Park in the evening, you should. The lights, Kevin's gotten, that's terrible. Kevin was able to get all these old lamps, he's got them going. And he's using LED lights, and they look fantastic. They're really neat. So he's got more to do. We're going to have to do some more, probably move some more poles around here and there, but the ones that he's been able to get going look really great. And so that's the plan to do that. We do have one co-op student that's working at the maintenance building. Arturo Cortez is his name, and he works in the afternoon, and his primary goal is mechanical issues. And he's a career center student, and so he's working half days every day, and we're glad to have him. He's been a big help. And then Alexander Sprinkle also attended Certified Playground Safety Inspector training in Fort Wayne, and we're waiting to receive his test results. So, moving on to the Aquatic Center report, we had the total attendance this summer of 5,985 kids per people, and that doesn't include the rentals that were there. And then the income was $21,759 for all the different activities that were going on at the pool. Any questions on the pool?
Was that attendance up or down from last year?
I
Do
don't
you
know. I didn't compare that.
All right.
I'll find that out for
Okay.
you. And then the golf course, of course, Dean has exceeded, Dean and Kyle, I have to say, Kyle's been part of the reason, all the work on social media. I mean, we've been cursing social media because they've been so hard on us, but Kyle has been phenomenal with getting social media going for the golf course. And daily rounds are up 1,493 from last year. and dollar rounds are up 1,203 for, and then the actual dollars were up $75,904 for the year, so from last year. So that's awesome too. Very pleased with that. And I just went through and figured out what was up and what wasn't compared to last year's numbers at the rentals we've done. And almost everything is up except for obviously Spencer Park. And then the Dyckman Park Pavilion is down as well. But everything else is up. And the one that's really cool is the Houston Park, because we're at 37 rentals so far this year, and it was only 90. We were only at 19 last year, so we've almost doubled that one at Houston Park. But part of that is all the soccer that's going on over there.
Absolutely.
So, I also included in your budget, or the 2024 budget that was just done, with the first reading at the council on Monday night. The one question that they've asked us to address is in order to double employee longevity, basically we're paid $150 for each year of service right now. So if you get, so they're talking about doubling our longevity this year, but they need us to find it somewhere else in our budget, because they can't add it. They can only subtract money from the budget. Once it's been advertised, it's got to be there at that point. So anyway, I've shown you here where that can come from, to double that. We're at, and I don't think I did it in the golf, but I think that's because we are losing 2 people that were 25 to 40 year employees. So there's not going to be any need to fund. They've got all that money already there. So
Anything else?
what have I missed?
I don't know.
I don't think I
I
missed
think you've
anything.
touched on everything. I do have one question. Is the school doing the pavilion, the other pavilion at Fairview?
They are not.
They are not. Okay.
They received a full-size, you can tell, a shelter or a steel building from Steinberger Construction.
Yeah, they've had this year a partnership, or I guess with the redevelopment commission, to add these back into the career center, primarily tools and then like culinary stuff. But one of the things they've got is that up till now they haven't had a good way in the construction classes to be able to build things. And Steinberg donated, TIF gave them money for a cement pad, and Steinberg has donated all like a metal building. So these kids can actually get the experience of building a building, and they can take it down. So every year you can build this building. So they got kind of swamped with that project because they poured the cement and stuff themselves too. So it just put them behind.
So
So I don't know what that means for our
I
other
was going to say,
shelters.
what's our plan? Do we have one yet?
I'm going to probably put out get some quotes
Okay.
on somebody that
Okay.
will do that.
All right.
It's just, I don't know where I've got the money, but
Well, I just hate to see that material just sitting over there on the ground.
I know, me too.
Yeah. So,
But if nothing else, our staff will have to do it.
okay. All right.
And it could go faster with us doing it anyway, because we got the lift, and we got
Yeah.
all the things that need to, but the problem is some of them don't like heights.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
I did want to make sure everybody knew, we are doing several events before and during spring or fall break. But the one we're really excited about is Howl at the Moon. We aren't doing a fall fest, we're doing this Howl at the Moon with, or stargazing with astronomer Forrest Hamilton. We're going to do hayride around the trails and a campfire with singing and stuff like that there at Houston Park this year.
Cool.
So
Okay. All right. That it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's much, I think they're having some issues at the event center with what's underground, with more than they expected,
Could've
so.
figured that.
So it's not going quite as
Not
smoothly
going
as they
quite
wanted
smoothly
it
as they
to.
want. Okay. All right. Okay, visitors' comments. Step on up.
Well, I was really encouraged by the interaction between the Parks Board and the Historic Preservation Commission, only to watch you then pass a motion to oppose preservation. So I think that if you wonder why you have a social media problem, this is.
We did not pass a measure to oppose preservation. We're going to preserve it. We don't want another entity dictating to us what we can and cannot do with city property. There is a difference.
Well, the
Twisting that,
difference
the same
is,
thing, and that's why people are upset on social media.
I think the
Because they get-
difference is the Parks Board has not been a good steward of the property it's entrusted to own. I also believe that people look at what you do. You say you're going to do something, and then you turn around and you do the exact opposite. I can understand if you want to oppose it, that's fine. I believe that the city council will probably approve it, because we need to have some oversight, because the Parks Board has not been a good steward of the property they maintain. The building wouldn't be if 30 years ago, 20 years ago, this building had been put under historic preservation, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be having this discussion, because the building would have been maintained and improper repairs wouldn't have been made. So I'm just going to post this meeting. I'm going to have one of our volunteers post this meeting today on the Logansport Landmarks page tonight, and we'll let the public decide how they feel about you. I do know the parks, as I understand it, the city council is going to probably be has a opening for an appointment to the Parks Board. I hope they choose wisely. Who knows, maybe they'll ask me.
The city council doesn't oppose people to this, or
No,
appoint
the
people to
mayor
this board.
appoints people. The city council has no appointments to this board.
You know, I think we made, and I thought we did, we made our stance perfectly clear. There's no,
Let me speak. The sad thing to me, or the disappointing thing to me, is that maybe without all the social media posts that we have been seeing, we probably would have been more likely not to make this resolution. Does everybody agree with that? You know what I mean? Because then it got people stirred up. It was really divisive. People were picking sides. Because the people that were up here speaking, man, they were pleasant. I enjoyed what they had to say. But now I see them in a different light because of everything that transpired beforehand. So I'm just, that's all I'm saying, that things could have played out a lot smoother and a lot better.
Don't believe if the former Mayor Kitchell had not brought this to the attention of the city council meeting, I seriously question whether this building would even be standing today. And that's my personal opinion. I don't think a lot of people share, but we have to work through this, we have to get the building stabilized, and we have to move on. Hopefully.
But you're not helping it. You're not helping the situation.
Well, the lack of transparency isn't helping it either.
We've been transparent about everything. Everything is available to the public at any time.
it's time, and I said this earlier, and I mean this wholeheartedly. It's time to stop trying this matter in the court of public opinion. And it's time, as we said earlier this evening, to get it stabilized and then meet with anybody in this town who's interested in helping preserve what we can preserve of that pavilion and get started on it. It's not, what we voted on tonight has nothing to do with not wanting to preserve it. We don't want to lose control of an entity in our parks department. You stated that if something would have happened 20 years ago, we wouldn't be here today. Well, none of us were here 20 years ago. But yet we're being crucified like we were. And the way stuff gets turned in social media makes this community and this Parks Board look bad. And there's absolutely, we are here to work with the people of Logansport. Point blank and simple. I've lived here all my life. I've known Scott Petey all my life. I'm not here to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Absolutely not whatsoever.
Every meeting, visitors are welcome. Just sign in and got any comments. So I don't know how any more transparent we can be of that. We're here, we decide on everything at these meetings. I haven't seen anything decided on at Jan's office that we weren't all involved with. So I don't know where you get we're not transparent.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. It sounds more like a conspiracy theory than anything.
Board comments, Raymond?
No comment.
Mike, of course I've got something. Since we've got city council here, before you guys leave, I'm on a number of different boards, and I could be wrong about the future in the next year or two. We have in our statement about, taking care of facilities. It's about money. It's about budgets. We got tax caps that keep things down inside. From the stuff that I'm seeing recently, the state of Indiana decided to give our state troopers more money. And then that kind of triggered the county guys have now given the police officers or sheriffs more money. And I see Logansport City in this situation where they need to really pony up and give the police officers and also firemen more money so we don't lose people. Unfortunately, when you deal with wages and stuff like that, we look at economic development, you need to have public safety. People need to feel safe. So if we lose our police force because we can't afford to give money to those folks, I don't know the exact numbers. I know that they need, $500,000 to $1 million to do the salaries and the benefits go with those folks. As forever, Paul's mentioned this before, sometimes it's a matter of what the priorities are. And I think sometimes not everybody sees the same priorities of what needs to be done first and last and that kind of thing. And I say, and that pavilion and other buildings in town, a lot of stuff needs help. But there's not always money to do that, and we hit the same stuff. There's lots of buildings in town too. So anyway, I see a problem coming up. Again, I don't speak, these guys can make a comment if they want to. I just see a storm coming that says we're going to need to take some of our budgeted money that probably a year ago we did not know that we needed to have to more with the police and firemen to get them at a level that's competitive with other places so we don't lose them to other cities or other counties or sheriffs or state police, what have you. So I see it, and unfortunately, my gut feeling is that if the police and firemen get some kind of a raise, then probably the street department, parks department, cemetery department, and office staff will also say, hey, what about us? And that may or may not happen. I'm not Houdini looking into a crystal ball here, but it just, I think those are the kind of issues that the councilmen deal with every day. So it becomes hard to say, okay, we can do these kind of things, or we can give money every year to preserve. I guarantee you, if the budget was larger and there were money for these kind of things, these things would be maintained better. What we have, it's not just that building. Our restrooms and a lot of our parks, they get to the point that they just are in such disrepair that then it becomes an emergency, and so then they try to get funding. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. That's where you get to vote for, city councilmen, because they council people, not councilmen. So I just think there's going to be some tough times ahead, and they need police protection for our city, and that means we got to take it someplace else. And so I see it's going to be harder to get things like maintenance of buildings and vehicles and all that kind of stuff And so we do need to have a public and private cooperation, fundraising. You know, we've had a proud history. The Carousel was a public-private kind of thing, and raised a bunch of money. I think the State Theater downtown is a case where it turned into a nonprofit, and they've raised some money for that. I mean, there's Logansport can step up, but we really do need people, and all the people that are upset on social media need to start to get with, you know, Paul or somebody, and start to talk about how they're going to raise money. Because I said I don't see that it's. I think that the city council is going to have a lot of fish to fry. And I don't see we're going to say, yeah, let's just toss $1 million at the pavilion or whatever. So we as a community need to be out there doing that stuff. And I'll disagree with what Paul mentioned about this other stuff. I don't think this thing would, you know, nobody ever had intention to take down that pavilion. We had a problem on how to fund it, and, you know, as I say. But anyway, that's all I've got.
Jason? Good. Sam?
No comment.
I'm good. Meeting is adjourned at 6:36.